Hiti mai, kotami hitara. Hiti mai, kotami hitara. Pupu, otara.
Kia oranga. So I'm Ajay Peni, or Ajay Ataera. I'm a born and raised Cattermole Islander from Rekohu, and currently we are in University of Otago.
My name's Gianna Cattermole and I'm an ethnomusicologist on the project. I've been doing a bit of work for a few years on Moriori music and particularly with Moriori musical instruments. As far as I know, there's no recordings or transcriptions or anything like that of the sound of Moriori music. I've even written descriptions. There's a couple of descriptions where Moriori sang like birds, or a long held out note at the end of phrases. And that's all there is. That's all that's left. There's only 2 Moriori flutes in museum collections that we know about, and they might very well be the only 2 remaining kind of historical Moriori instruments that exist. So this is a print of the flute in the Canterbury Museum, and then we have this wonderful miheke that is cared for here at the Bishop Museum. I think it's wonderful to mihi to express the connection between these 2 amazing mihiku oro. So, ngā mihi. One of the big things about these instruments, is they're the only 2, is that museums will not allow you to play them. So if you want to have any idea of how they actually sound and have a play around using different methods to kind of recreate that performance practice, the only way you can really do that is to create replicas. There's a process that you go through to write to those museums for permission to access their collections. And once all the okays have been given, then we go on in there and collect the data that we need to be able to replicate the flutes. Obviously, these are so incredibly rare and precious that we had staff from the museums present to transport the instruments safely to the places where we were scanning them. And then it's a matter of the people actually at those places trying to set up the scans in such a way that would be optimised for the material. Fortunately, CT scanning's used in medical applications, obviously, and so one of the materials that it's optimised for is bone, which works very well for us in this instance because we're scanning albatross bone flutes. The scanning people do their thing and then they send us the data. When they send the data through, it just comes through as all those individual segments, and then we have to do some processing of that data in order to create digital models that we can then go on and print. There's been quite a lot of work done in recent years actually to 3D print replicas of musical instruments held in museum collections. That's still an ongoing field of research with people testing out different print methods, different print orientations, different materials. And we were just interested to see if we could test a range of different materials and see if we could get close to the original material and how it sounds. Is there a print material out there that gets close to albatross bone? Not that we've found so far. That's still something we've got to try and do some more work around, I guess. But beyond that, eventually, these meheke will have different homes. Some are going to go back to like Bishop Museum in this case, or Canterbury Museum in the case of these. Some of them are also going back to the Hokotehi Moriori Trust, back on Rekohu, and they'll be used in educational activities, so particularly for schools around education and outreach. The good thing about these, unlike the original artefacts, is you can actually handle them. You can feel them, you can play them. If you were to drop one and break it, you can always make another. So again, if we're wanting to compare the sound of an original flute compared to the prints, well, we weren't able, unfortunately, to play the original bone flutes in the museum collections. So what we had to do was to create replicas out of bone.
Kia oranga, ko Alistair tōku ingoa. I'm a musician, and I also make and research taonga puoro. I've got two roles in this project. Firstly, being a maker, I can see different ways to do reconstructions and experiment with reconstructions. And then I also have the ability to play. Going from photos is what I normally do, and a photo only tells part of the story. Like, you can't do this with a photo, can't do that, you can't smell it, you can't feel the texture. Whereas with a 3D print, you can see exactly how big that hole is, and you can match it up to what you have. It makes making so much easier.
Alistair used some traditional techniques to make the flutes. When sawing off the ends of the bone, he was using the edge of a tuatua shell, which is quite naturally sharp. And then for the finger hole, he started it off by using a tūwiri, which is a type of Māori drill. It's a shaft of wood, and then he lashed on a sharp tooth onto the end of that. The shape of this flute's centre hole is unusual because it's kind of rectangular almost. So he took sort of rock or stone files to sort of file away the edges to get that rectangular shape.
For me, the importance of bringing back old taonga into the form that it is originally in, like toroa, is very valuable. Now that we have this taonga back, then that can be given back to the people where it's from.
The whole process of recreating these instruments you learn a lot about how they might have been made originally. Looking, for example, at the holes and how they might have been created, because there's no evidence of Moriori drill having survived in the archaeological record. But if you look closely at the actual flutes that are in museums, you can see some sort of rotational drill has been used to create them. Would it have been a shark's tooth on the end of a shaft and done using that technique? Well, who knows? We don't know, but we know that by using a technique like that, you can create a similar kind of effect. And then importantly too, you're learning more about how Moriori music might have sounded. The main thing that we're working towards on the project is an exhibition that's going to be held at Te Hura Otago Museum. And it's really about trying to capture and represent a multisensory experience of what it is like to be Moriori on Rekohu, Chatham Islands. Music is, of course, a big part of that. There's a huge connection between the natural soundscape and the musical instruments.
We're at the Otago University School of Music recording studios, and we're recording for the upcoming exhibition at Otago Museum.
So in this project, my role is musical composition or musical direction for Rongo. I come up with the melody lines and the compositions that I receive from Hokati Moriori Trust.
Ajay Peni, who's a Moriori musician, came over to record some songs, some rongo for us. We also had Alistair Fraser playing some of these albatross bone flute replicas that he had made and that others had made during their carving wānanga.
Katawhatie rengarune retu mano ana i ronga pohana kamimi aru tore tūrau ki moana nui ki moana ru ki moana taramanga nui tapu ko taku hei kumawiri.
Creating music like that, kind of in the moment, Alistair just sort of listening to the tracks laid down by AJ and layering these incredible taonga over the top in a very spontaneous, improvised kind of way. It was just so incredibly beautiful to be there and to listen to that and to watch it happen.
What are we, about 9 years in now, and only now I'm starting to feel the confidence, I guess, catching up, or the placement, and feeling like I'm actually doing the right sort of things. All takes time, but yeah, it feels great now, especially the space that Moriori and this project here at the university is doing. It's an amazing thing. This is a good example of how technology should be used, I think. It's a beautiful space for Moriori to be in.
The more that we do mahi like this and research and reinvigorate, the more that future generations have to build on. So although there are still lots of questions, these answers that we've come up with will hopefully also become part of the kite in the future.
A lot of it's just guesswork, you know, and but that's all you can go on nowadays, and it's certainly better than knowing absolutely nothing.
Culture should never stop, you know. I think it's beautiful to hear them on the Rongo, and because it's taking it a step back in time, but also a step forward into the future as well, which is awesome.
I don't think I have words for how valuable this is hopefully going to be. It is now.
You might yes, definitely.
For me, one of the things I've enjoyed most is taking some of the replicas out into classrooms, you know, back on Rekohu, and just sort of seeing, especially for some of the kids, you know, just that lighting that fire.
Just gonna make one for me out of my one, but like low, like you're tooting. Yep.
Should we not have these ones for now? I've got it. I've got it.
There's still obviously a long way to go, but I feel like it's happening. It's happening right now, eh? So, yeah.
Nice work. Mission accomplished. Thank you both.
Ka whānau, ka kimi pokai, ia mi o, tanga e ngā e. Ka whānau, ka ruku, tanga e ngā e, tanga e ngā e, tanga e ngā e. Ka whānau, ko roto mō ana, ko roto mō ana, tanga e ngā e, tanga e ngā e. Ka whānau, ko roto mō ana, ko roto mō ana, tanga